Right now, on to the point. A quote, collapse into chaos. The Sacramento district attorneys calling out the city's homeless ordinances reaching another boiling point. Residents outraged. Could a sexually violent predator still be released in Placer County?
They've looked at over 1,300 places in Placer County. It's time to look someplace else.
And battling breast cancer and why early detection is really key. Good evening. This is To the Point. I'm Alex Bell. The lawsuit filed against city leaders demanding they take action enforcing ordinances addressing homelessness has reached another boiling point. The city calling the county district attorney's lawsuit against them deeply flawed. Our Jeannie Nguyen joins us with the district attorney's response tonight.
Alex, it's been a months-long battle between the Sacramento County District Attorney and the City of Sacramento over finding a solution to the homelessness issue. Last month, the DA sued the city, and the battle is not over yet.
Describing the city of Sacramento last month as a collapse into chaos and an erosion of everyday life, Sacramento County DA Tien Ho filed a lawsuit against the city claiming it failed to address the homelessness crisis.
I do not relish the possibility of suing another government entity in order to compel them to do the right thing, to do their job.
DA Ho wanting a judge to force the city to address the homelessness crisis. That lawsuit came after the DA sent a letter to city leaders threatening legal action if there were no major changes to the homeless response within 30 days. At the time, Mayor Darrell Steinberg said the lawsuit would not clear a single sidewalk or get a single person off the streets, and that the city is working every day and night to enforce the laws to provide community relief. He also called the DA's lawsuit a performative distraction.
Mr. Ho, I understand your frustration. We are all frustrated. But some of us are actually working day and night to try to make the problem better. You are going about this all wrong.
Now, the city attorney is responding by asking a judge to dismiss the lawsuit. In a release today, city attorney Susanna Alcala-Wood says the lawsuit is deeply flawed, adding it will only be expensive to taxpayers and a drain on resources. These court documents show the city is also claiming it is immune from liability for all claims asserted by the DA. The DA's office provided ABC 10 with a statement that says, in part, this is common and expected, and the DA's office will be filing a response in court. It will continue its mission to protect public safety and ensure the unhoused are not forgotten.
All right, Jeannie. So we've seen the back and forth for a few months now between, the district attorney's office and the city. When will this actually get to a judge, though?
Well, Alex, this is going to be a months-long process. The city attorney's office is expecting the Sacramento County Superior Court to rule on this motion after a hearing that is set for January 5th.
And guess what else is also happening in January 2024? That's when we have the point in time count where we will get an update on the homelessness here in Sacramento and see if the crisis has grown. So I know I went to it in 2022, and it really is an eye-opening experience. Jeannie, thank you. All right, let's look at other stories that caught our eye today. More blowback against school leaders over a controversial identity policy known as parental notification, something we've talked a lot about. The Rockland Unified School District approved the policy just last month, requiring schools to notify parents if their child asks to be called by a different gender or pronoun with or without student permission. Now, the State Public Employment Relations Board is filing a complaint against the district, calling it an illegal forced outing policy. A settlement conference is scheduled for November 16th. The principal of Pioneer Elementary School in El Dorado County is under arrest. 37-year-old Boyd Holler is accused of sending harmful matter to a minor and contacting a minor to engage in lewd behavior. One mom from Grizzly Flat says that she took her son out of school for the day after hearing the news.
It's not okay. My son is 5 years old and he's a kid. All my friends' daughters go here. It's like, so are they going to investigate all the kids that have been alone in the office?
Leone says parents saw a law enforcement presence at the school this morning. The district attorney's office confirmed for ABC 10 that they were executing a search warrant at the school. And new information on two 2-year-old boys who drowned in a Roseville swimming pool. They were from Sacramento County and were in foster care in Placer County when they drowned. Law enforcement is now conducting a criminal investigation. A child welfare investigation is also underway. And a woman who was rescued from the San Joaquin River last week has died. And you might remember this. She was pulled out of the river with her 5-year-old daughter after a crash. The daughter survived. The man who jumped in to help rescue them did not survive. And tonight, residents continue to voice their outrage. After many hearings and meetings, a sexually violent predator could still be placed in Placer County. Our Roxanne Elias was in Auburn for the community meeting today.
After a number of court hearings on the release of sexually violent predator William Stevenson, a second formal community meeting rang out with the voices of residents fighting back.
I'm here because I lived in the neighborhood where Mr. Stevenson lived the first time he was released. And he offended, and now they are considering releasing him again. And that's a huge concern.
This was back in 2014 when Bonnie Gore lived in Roseville. Stevenson had been released from custody at the time, only to reoffend again 3 years later. She and her neighbor were present at today's meeting, recounting stories of his previous behavior.
That's when my son would come up to me and tell me there's a man on the window looking down. And that was one. And then the other time I went out there to let the dog out, and he was exposed on his window, wide open.
A judge ordered the Department of State hospitals to hold more of these meetings to bring the public into the decision-making process.
There was an anticipation of a lot of information about locations that we might hear about, and we didn't hear about any. So I think there was a lot of disappointment today.
Morgan Geyer, the Placer County District Attorney, has been fighting this all along. He says Liberty Healthcare and the Department of State hospitals are required to find a location that works for Stevenson to live, but none seem to be working.
A number of those locations that they search for are close to schools and other things that legally prevent the houses from working. And of the homes that they have felt met those guidelines, they just end up not working for one reason or another.
He says one of the major concerns is the lack of information being made available to the public, but they want to have their input heard.
He's not from Placer County. He's only being released here because the state says he used to live here when he was released. Now he has to be placed here. But they have not found a location for him. They've looked at over 1,300 places in Placer County. It's time to look someplace else.
All right, there is a court hearing next week. The judge in this case has said that he is going to release Stevenson at some point, but that release has to be under the right circumstances. Coming up onto the point, President Biden heading to Israel, a humanitarian crisis growing with no signs of war slowing down.
We got a lot of haze out there, some fuel reduction burns going on right now, so we'll talk about air quality as well as the warm up and then the immediate cool down in the forecast.
And battling breast cancer, why early detection is really key.
It does not run in my family. It was kind of out of the blue.
Winter is coming. Right now, a race is underway to fix I-80 in the Sierra. Paving work continues this week. Westbound I-80 will be closed between Secret Town Road and the State Route 174 junction in Colfax. So here's the map of the closure around Colfax. Expect the closures every night from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. this week, wrapping up on Friday morning. And you actually might see some smoke up there, right, Monica?
Right. So we're following a couple of fuel reduction burns, same kind of situation. Before the winter season gets going, you want to make sure to knock down all that dangerous fuel up there. This is a look at some of the skies that we're seeing across the region. Strawberry, you can see some of those ignition points there. Several of them. So some hazy skies all throughout the foothills and some of that making its way through the valley as well. This is a look at the current air quality, and you can see just little pockets of some unhealthy air. It should clear out nicely for tonight with these northwest winds. The only thing is that those winds start to back off for tonight. So anything that's sticking around here in the valley will hang with us through early tomorrow. As far as our temperature trend, 79 the average high. Look at this. We've been well into the 80s and on our way back up. Heading into the next couple of days tonight, we've got the hazy skies out there. Temperatures cooling into the 60s and eventually that overnight low at 56. That is going to be above our average low, by the way, of 50. Our sunrise is shortly after 7:15. Headed over towards the coast, we've got a heat advisory in place late Wednesday through Thursday. And Thursday, in fact, is the peak heat under that ridge of high pressure. It's sinking, warming air. The game changer comes in. Here's that low pressure system by the end of the weekend, and even brings us a slight chance for showers heading our way. Highs tomorrow in the 70s for the high country, 83 for Pollock Pines. Jackson, we're at 89. Nevada City at 86. Oroville, we're up to 90 tomorrow afternoon. We're close to 80 for San Francisco, 95 for Fairfield. I know that's a little too close to 100 at this point in the year. Upper 80s to right around the low 90s throughout the rest of the valley. Beautiful for the morning, though. As far as the chance for showers, you can see it there in the 5-day forecast for the mountains, the hills, even the coast. After hitting a high close to 90 on Thursday, we're dropping those highs into the 60s. Valley will follow near 90 on Friday, dropping to the 70s. Slight chance for showers this weekend.
Next, on To the Point, the housing market, what realtors are seeing for what could be the first time since 2008. Plus, the humanitarian crisis in the Middle East. Biden heads to Israel, and the challenges for international aid being proposed.
Everything is getting worse. We're really exhausted, and we can't tolerate more, but we can do nothing.
All right, thousands are dead. A humanitarian crisis is growing, and the Israel-Hamas war is showing no signs of slowing down. Tonight, President Biden is on his way to Israel. This is video of his departure from the White House earlier today. The president is expected to speak with Middle East leaders. The U.S. Secretary of State says the U.S. and Israel have agreed to develop a plan to send humanitarian aid from nations and organizations to civilians in Gaza. But now the Palestinian Authority president pulled out of the meeting. It comes as 3 days of mourning have been declared in Gaza after a devastating attack on a Baptist hospital. Hundreds are believed to be dead. This hospital was a shelter for people escaping the attacks. Israeli officials are blaming Islamic Jihad, saying their analysis indicates the strikes were a failed rocket launch by the terrorist organization. The U.S. says they are investigating where the rocket came from. Tonight, European leaders met and vowed a unified effort to help people in Gaza. Supplies are expected to land in Egypt, but meanwhile, current aid for Gaza is still stuck in Egypt. ABC News reporter Rhiannon Alley has more.
Truckloads of aid still idling at the Gaza-Egypt border, with diplomatic efforts to open the Rafah border crossing ongoing. Egypt has said the crossing is not officially closed, but was made inoperable due to Israeli airstrikes.
Everything is getting worse. We're really exhausted, and we can't tolerate more, but we can do nothing. We have to stay in our houses.
People in Gaza have been pleading for water, food, and fuel after all routes out of the territory were closed ahead of a looming ground invasion by Israeli troops. Hospitals are on the verge of losing electricity, threatening the lives of thousands of patients. The director of one hospital in Gaza City telling ABC News last night the only generator that supplies electricity may run out of fuel within hours, and then the hospital will be a mass grave. Authorities in Gaza say Israeli airstrikes have now killed more than 2,700 people, but at least 1,200 people are still believed to be buried under rubble. More than 3,700 residential buildings have been destroyed.
We have been very patient, very clear, very patient, very tolerant about the humanitarian situation, because we have said, and we stand by this, the civilians are not our enemies, Hamas is.
The State Department now says nearly 1,000 U.S. citizens and their immediate family members have departed Israel on government-chartered flights, and more than 4,000 seats were made available to Americans by air and sea. Adela Schutzberg is traveling via ship to Cyprus with her 2 children, hoping to reach Dallas by tomorrow.
I'm constantly on edge, and I can't do that to my kids. I can't let them live like this.
And this week, thousands of U.S. troops have been told to prepare for possible deployment for missions such as advising and medical support. Hamas still has Israeli hostages, which include Americans. Tomorrow, Biden is expected to talk to Israeli authorities about their plan to defeat Hamas. We'll have more to report on this conflict tomorrow. In our nation's capital today, the race for the House Speaker, controversial conservative Jim Jordan failed to secure 217 votes needed to become Speaker. He is now expected to try to win the Speaker's gavel by forcing additional rounds of voting. Meanwhile, Democrats nominated and unanimously voted for Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries for Speaker.
Pride of Crown Heights, a representative from the state of New York.
As for California Congressman Kevin McCarthy, who was ousted as Speaker, he voted for Jim Jordan. The Republican Party will continue to rally even more support ahead of additional rounds of voting. The House is closing in on 2 weeks without a speaker, and it means that the House cannot conduct legislative work. It comes as the country is headed towards a possible government shutdown in November, and without a speaker, no aid is being approved in Ukraine or Israel. In your price points, home sales are slowing down even more. Real estate company Redfin now estimates that by the end of the year, existing home sales will hit about 4.1 million homes, and that would be the lowest since 2008. Experts believe the drag on sales is due to higher mortgage rates, record high prices for homes, and a limited number on the market. And then there's Walmart, who says that it's pretty much ready for the holidays and that they will likely not have a hiring spree. Experts say that that might be another sign that retailers are expecting a slower holiday shopping season. Sales are expected to grow, but at least their lowest rate since 2008. And economists surveyed by the Wall Street Journal now put the probability of a recession in the next year at 48%. So that's down from 54% over the summer. Reasons for the relative optimism: falling inflation rates and a strong labor market. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Women hear it time and time again, all the time. Early detection is key. And tonight, early detection is what one woman is crediting for her survival. Megan McPherson has the story.
Nearly 13% of American women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. Julie Wolf never thought she'd be one of them.
It does not run in my family. It was kind of out of the blue.
In May of 2022, Wolf received her diagnosis.
Triple negative breast cancer. It's a pretty invasive, aggressive form.
But 12 rounds of chemotherapy and a double mastectomy later.
In December, I had an MRI, and they called me within an hour and a half, and they said, "We're pleased to tell you there's no tumors." The chemo worked.
The best news for Wolf and her family. She now credits her dedicated team with her extensive treatment and successful recovery. But more than anything,
having that early detection, and I really think, starting my annual mammograms and getting into that routine and embedding that into my healthcare routine was so critical.
Early detection is what led to not only Wolf's diagnosis, but also those of so many other women across the country.
Early detection is kind of key in this, right? So if you can detect something sooner rather than later, right, you have higher probability of taking care of it.
Radiation oncologist Dr. Sam Schroeder says that key technological advancements are also helping doctors treat more women and improve outcomes for patients. Both doctors and patients believe that getting screened is the best way to stay on top of your health.
And doctors say that women should be getting annual mammograms after turning 40 years old. It comes as one study shows that breast cancer diagnoses are on the rise for younger Americans under the age of 40. So between 2010 and 2019, diagnoses among people aged 30 to 39 increased 19.4%. Among those aged 20 to 29, the increase was a little more than 5%. Next, on To the Point, glow-in-the-dark farms. Why a Davis company is hoping this idea grows. There are signs of progress on Maui. Hundreds of students are now back in their schools near Lahaina. Things look a little different. Some students' desks are folding tables. Plastic tubs hold new textbooks. The fires that ripped through Maui in August killed at least 98 people and damaged thousands of homes. All right, coming up tomorrow on To The Point, glow-in-the-dark farms. I'm so excited about this story. So a local startup company is working to change the face of agriculture by helping plants communicate their needs. So Interplant in Davis is genetically coding soybeans with a fluorescent protein that will help the plant glow when it's infected by a fungus. They hope this will allow farmers with large farms to get to the root of the issue and only spray a very small acreage of farm with pesticides rather than thousands of acres they own.
Part of the solution is really how do you maximize the use of the land that's already used and arable for agriculture, but without essentially making it unusable for the future, right? So it's how to increase yields, but how do you make soils more healthy and more resilient so that we can continue to do this for more and more generations.
Coming up tomorrow on To The Point, we are getting a firsthand look and meeting with the farmers testing this over 1,800 miles away. And you know, we're always working to bring you more context and information. So if there's something you're interested in or you just want more information on, make sure you reach out to me and the team. Have a great night. See you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.